And we are officially live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And welcome to another rendition of NXTilosos, your NXT review show here at the BC WrestlePod Network. I am Mikey, El Jefe of BC WrestlePod. And I will be rocking it solo today, I guess. um, so yeah. Um, I don't know where my other two co-hosts are, but I know it's the summer. I know it's hot, so the heat has been kind of messing with all of our internets collectively. So we just gonna go with what we got for right now, and if everybody pops in later, cool. If not, I got this. But I am here to review the Tuesday, August 5th edition of NXT. So a very interesting episode. I feel that we're getting. I mean, we're on the road to Heat Wave in about 3 weeks, and now we're starting to get some semblance of what we can expect in terms of the matches for Heat Wave is going to be. There's a lot of fun stuff this episode, but I have one big glaring problem. Well, a couple of them, and then we're going to talk about them and go from there. But before I dive into to NXT, a little bit of some housekeeping, if you will. However, you found BC WrestlePod, whether it was through a friend, the algorithm, discovering us on your feed somehow, we're welcome and we're happy that you found us. If you want to see more of our shenanigans during our reviews, you can subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell notification, or you can follow us on Twitch and Kick if that is your preferred platformer. But if you cannot commit to a full-length video watch along with these live reviews or edited reviews, that is okay. And we still want you to talk to you and interact with you. So you can follow us all over the social medias at BC WrestlePod, where we upload clips. We upload our report cards for the weekly shows and the pay-per-views and all that good stuff, as well as some other fun things we got going on. We cover a lot here, and there's something for everyone, which we love. But we also have some merchandise available for you to buy if you want to support us financially. We have merchandise of all of our review teams here at BC WrestlePod, as well as our summer collection, our Pride collection, and our collection that is anti-establishment and anti-fascism, which we love. So I'm going to leave that description. I'm going to leave that link in the chat on the multiple places that we are streaming this to. So feel free to treat yourself something nice, or even just, go ahead and get, just get yourself something nice. We love it. It's so fantastic. But with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into NXT. So again, I will be reviewing the Tuesday, August 5th edition. And this NXT this week kicks off with our opening match, which is Kalani Jordan versus Blake Monroe. Of course, we got this match set up last week because, Blake is out here running around causing problems. The girls, we had a brawl last week between Kalani and Blake and Lash and Jada. So everything's getting kind of crazy. Well, and Lola was involved in all this too. So I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting Blake to win because Blake is still newer. She is the hottest newest signee to NXT. So I was expecting our girl Kalani to lose here. However, as far as the match itself goes, this was really fun. Kalani is very good. It is so nice to see her and how far she's come in terms of her in-ring abilities, and also being able to incorporate her gymnastics more, which has been a lot of fun to see. And of course, Blake Monroe, we're familiar with her work from her time at AEW underneath her ring name of Mariah May. And this was no exception. I was having a good time with this. Normally, I don't like a distraction finish / count out, but it makes sense for the story that we're telling, because towards the tail end of this match, Jordan Grace's music hits and she comes out in a full neck brace and everything, chasing Blake Monroe out of the arena, which was so much fun to watch, and which allowed Kalani to win her match against Blake via countout because Jordan Grace was, chasing her. And it was even funnier though too to watch Jordan Grace chase Blake out to the parking lot where Blake got into a car and sped off, and Jordan, like a whole entire super villain. And this was a lot of fun. So this was a lot of fun. Again, normally I'm not the biggest fan of a count out, so to speak. But because it makes sense, because what we find out later from Ava talking to Jordan Grace. Yeah, so this was fun. This was a lot of fun. Alrighty. Again, Kalani Jordan picks up the victory via countout from Miss Blake Monroe. So from here, we move on because, again, so Kalani wins. Jordan Grace is chasing Blake into the parking lot and everything. This was fun. I had a great time with this. So after this match, we just go straight into our next one. NXT really didn't have this was a very weird, not weird, but this was an NXT where we front loaded the show with matches and then we put a bunch of the backstage and the, we front loaded the first half of the show with we front loaded the show with matches, and then the second half of the show is lots of promo and backstage segments. So we're going to just go from here. But after our opening match, we just go straight into our next one, which is for the NXT Tag Team Championship matches, which, of course, is our challengers of Chase U taking on the champions of Team Honk Honk themselves, Hank and Tank. So, I called this out earlier. Well, not earlier. I called this out last week because it was kind of funny how Chase U and Hank and Tank broke the fourth wall where, Chase U thought to get a tag team championship match. They had to beat up the champions with steel chairs because that's what's been going on for the last couple of weeks. A couple of weeks for Hank and Tank. But Hank and Tank's like, we'll give you the championship match if you just ask. You don't need to beat us up. So this is where we are. I already figured that Hank and Tank were going to win. I still think this was a lot of fun. However, my only critique about this match is I don't know if it's because our Chase, U 2.0 boys are maybe newer around here, or, are still needing to work on their skills. I will say shout out to Uriah Connors, though. I think he looked really good in this match. But ultimately, this was essentially like a 7 to 8 minute match where, of course, our boys of Hank and Tank do end up picking up the victory and retaining their NXT championships. After the match is over, we have the lights hit. Dark State comes out and attacks both Chase U and Hank and Tank and is just causing a ruckus. We're going to talk about Dark State a little bit later in the show because this is probably the biggest problem that I had with NXT this week is the fact that outside of Stand and Deliver, where Dark State actually picked up a victory here, they have not won a singular match since. Not in NXT, not in TNA, and yet they're running roughshod and acting like they've been beating some big names. I was like, who are we kidding ourselves, Dark State and NXT? Shawn Michaels, I know you trying, but like Dark State is not working out for me. And I don't know, man. I don't know what more that they can do to make me care because I don't care about Dark State. I really don't. I keep saying this all the time. The only person in Dark State that I care about, but that's because I'm familiar with his work from the independents, is Mr. Saquon Sugars. Saquon is the only one I care about in this group. Everybody else is... I don't like them. I really don't. I don't know. So I was annoyed at this point with Dark State. When we get to a bit later, then I got really mad. I was like, is this what we're doing now? Okay, that's fine, I guess. So I'm gonna hold that until we get to that part of the show. Because right now, we got to get into this match, though. Miles Bourne versus Lexis King. Hated the build to this because Lexis King was calling out Miles Bourne and saying that he was fake being deaf and all that. I was like, I'm sure the ADA is knocking on NXT's doors because this was I hated the build for this. So, but before I begin getting too deep into this, I'm going to bring one of my other co-hosts onto the screen to talk about this match. So, Will, I'm happy to have you here.
Yay. I was in the wrong link, apparently.
Oops.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, wait, where is everybody? You're like, oh, we're doing it right now. And I'm like, but I'm literally right here. There's no one here yet. So
and then you look up and you're like, oh, wrong room. Oops.
Yep, I was in last week's room. My bad.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. It happens. So we're going to come back to Dark State in a little bit, Will, when we get later into the show, because I was just like, I was annoyed when Dark State attacked Chase U and Hank and Tank after the tag title match, but then I got mad about what we were getting later. But let's talk about this match, because again, this build, hated it. I was like, what are we doing? I was just like, what? I mean, Lexus King is a douche. Like, let's be all the way 100. That is his character. But I'm like, bro, you know he is. Miles Bourne is actually half death. What are we talking about? Like, anyways, now the match itself, though, I was just like, Lexus King, this is what I want to see more of. I was just like, don't care about your character, but I need you to be the aggressive heel and just start fighting like you did in this match, because I was entertained, sir. This was actually pretty good. And of course, Miles Bourne, excellent as always.
Agreed.
So this was a really strong match. I really like this match. And of course, Miles Bourne does pick up the victory over Lexus King. Hopefully this is one and done, but who knows, because NXT will drop it and then bring it back up, like, who knows at this point. So, but at least gets Miles more wins and us trying to figure out what we're going to do with Miles. So I'm not mad at it. This was a fun one. This was actually a pretty strong match.
Yeah, I agree. I'm good. I don't think, with Lexus King, I don't think they know what to do with him. So they're like making him. So I don't. It's literally like, oh, let's try a little bit of this week. Oh no, that didn't work. All right, let's try a little bit of this week, and it's like getting kind of old.
Which we come to understand. Like, we know this is where NXT is, where we're trying to figure out what works for all of our characters here and all of our wrestlers down over here in NXT. But I'm like, we got to stick with something for a little bit, because Lexus has been bouncing around from different, like, archetype to archetype, and nothing seems to stick. And I don't know what's going on. So we just need to figure out what we're doing here. But again, not mad that Miles won. It continues to give him some wins, because I'm ready for Miles to win championship at some point this year. Probably not now, but I would love to see him hold some sort of title by the end of 2020, beginning of 2026. I'm also going to reiterate that statement with another friend of his later in the show. So, moving on. Again, the first half of NXT this week, we just front loaded everything with matches, and then the second half was all the talkie talks. Like, this was such a weirdly booked show and the way we paced it. But after that match, we go straight into our next one, which is Thea Hale taking on SmackDown's and SmackDown's Nia Jax. So Nia Jax is a member of the women's roster on the main roster on SmackDown, which airs on Fridays. I was entertained with this match. Thea Hale, girl, we love you. But Thea, this is what we apply to Lexus, we're applying to you. I don't know what NXT's doing with you. You came back. I was excited. And now we're just out here. I thought you and Lainey Reed were going to have some sort of feud, but apparently we're kind of like cooling that off. So who knows what's going on here. And you tried, girl. You tried. But Nia Jax hit the annihilator at the end. Nia she manhandled you. I was just like, I mean, but as she should, because Nia Jax is literally like your power woman type of wrestler. So she gonna throw you, and then she gonna, hit the Annihilator as her finisher and just sit on you, which Thea sold well. I was entertained with this match. I love Nia Jax. I really do. I mean, to recap for those who might not know, Nia Jax was part of like a batch of releases like 2 or 3 years ago. And then they brought her back once Vince McMahon left or got ousted from WWE. And I've been having such a fun. I love her. She's great. She got a lot of hate because people were calling her unsafe and things like that. But now everybody, I love her, and it seems like she's doing really well. And so I was like, you know what? I like Nia Jax in NXT. We didn't really get to see much of her when she was originally part of NXT during the Black and Gold era. So I'm happy that she gets to be in here with this crowd. But yeah, Will, before we talk about what happens after the match, what did you think of Nia versus Thea?
I thought this was a super entertaining match. I enjoyed it. I was loving it. I didn't understand why it was happening, but I liked it. It was like, oh, well, this is a great match, but what? I don't, what?
Right. You would have thought that this match was being set up because Thea and Nia have beef, but that's not even the case. Thea was just here to show off, Nia's power, because we know the real reason she was there is what happened afterwards. So Nia gets on the mic, and of course she calls out Lash Legend, because last week she came in and cost Lash her match against Fallon Henley. And so Nia's like, I'm here to destroy you. You think you are the baddest girl in the locker room. Well, guess what? No, you're not. That's me. Lash comes out. Whether it was intentional or not, she stumbles over her words, but she's like, fuck it, throws the mic, gets into the ring, and then these two Amazonas Amazons of women like begin to brawl, and like we had to have multiple security guards break them up. I was like, yes, give me big hoss girl fight.
Yep, me too. I was like, yay, girl fight.
And what was even funnier is that throughout the night, before Ava confronted both of them and set up what we're getting next week, they continued to fight backstage the entire night as well, like almost taking out Stax, and then Soul and Zarya got caught in the crossfire. Like, it was so much fun. So Thea, we love you, girl. Hopefully they do something of substance with you, but this is ultimately to set up what we're getting next week between these two that we've been building over the last 2 weeks. So we're going to talk more about that when we get to our backstage segment with these two, because right now, I love this picture. Jordan Grace, I love you, but you are such a big muscle mommy that neck brace don't even fit correctly. Like, those neck muscles are about to burst out, girl. So, as I said earlier in the review, Jordan Grace interrupted Kalani Jordan and Blake Monroe's match that opened the night and chased Blake into the car in the parking lot. And so Jordan Grace is like, Ava, I know what you're going to say. And Ava's like, girl, I got you. I was just like, your neck is not 100% right now, but when you get cleared, it will be you versus Blake Monroe at Heatwave. And I love that Ava said this little part too. She's like, I'm supposed to be unbiased, but from me and all women in this locker room, it's just like, kick her ass. I was just like, Ava, I was like, I know you're supposed to be unbiased because you're the GM, but I was like, yes, Ava. So
it was so funny.
It was. So while we didn't get an official graphic, this is the first confirmed match for Heatwave that we got this evening. So it will be Blake Monroe versus Jordan Grace at Heatwave in 3 weeks. So that's going to be, I'm excited. This is going to be fun. And so we've been building this up for a little bit since Evolution a couple weeks ago, back in July. And so now we're getting their encounter at Heatwave. So it should be fun. I just need Javon Evans to come out every week and roast everybody. Because I was like, I don't know whether it was Javon's choice or, creative's choice to just let him be him. But we get this whole promo segment. First, we get Oba Femi talking about, Heatwave's coming up. He wants an opponent. And he's like, he's pretty much beat everybody on the roster. He talked about how, Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura are fighting each other, and they couldn't get the job done 2 weeks ago in that triple threat. So then Trick comes out. And basically, again, if everybody in the world can live in the world of delusion that Trick Williams lives in, I think the world would be a better place. I'm not even gonna lie. So, but Trick then begins talking about how he's the top dog and, he is the better champion, which then prompts Javon to come out. And Javon's like, Trick, shut your goofy ass up. And he basically says, this is like, you're not the top dog of NXT. Hell, you're not even the top champion of TNA because you can't even defend that thing. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Javon, keep going. I was like, Javon was laying it into Trick. Trick tried to tell Javon, hey, be quiet when grown folks be talking. Javon's like, hell to the no. It's like, I'm not here to challenge you, Trick. I'm here to challenge Oba. Oba being the pot stirrer in this situation. It's like, hey, I got a good idea. You two should fight to see who will face me at Heatwave. I'll watch and let's do this tonight. And then Trick's like, nah, we ain't gonna do that. But I'll tell you what, in 2 weeks, you can get that match. And then we get another interruption. This time it's Moose coming out of the woodwork. So Moose comes out to remind Trick that in 2 weeks at TNA's Emergence, he is going to take that title from Trick. and bring it back home to TNA. And I'm like, God, I wish that was true, Moose. I was just like, I wish that was true, but I'm gonna be so for real. I think that Trick's gonna hold this until Bound for Glory in October, and I still believe that Mike Santana needs to be the one to take it from him. Which, as the weeks go by, we'll continue to talk about it. But then the lights go out again, Will, because Darkstay makes a second appearance this evening. But this time, they thought they could get the jump on everybody, but they couldn't because Trick, Moose, Oba, and Javon clear house. So Darkstay gets in the ring, gets destroyed, and thrown out of the ring, and we get a bit of a stare off. I was just like, oh, Darkstay. I was just like, yeah. I was just like, I still don't care about you.
Nope.
Again, we're gonna hold all our thoughts because when we get backstage with everybody, then I'm gonna let Spicy Mikey out, as the professor has dubbed it now. So we're gonna come back to you later because right now, this was hilarious to me. So, of course, it starts out with Charlie Dempsey and Ren Sinclair talking about it. So now it's just Ren and Charlie and No Core to Catch crew because, Miles Bourne is gone. And then Tavion Heights was able to win and leave No Core to Catch crew last week. And so Ren is trying to cheer up, Charles over here. And she's like, hey, you know what cheers me up? And then Charlie's like, what, Ren? And then Ren's like, say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. And then all of a sudden, camera pans to the fridge of all places. I was like, how long are you sitting in this fridge, Joe? So Joe exits the fridge. His theme song plays. They clap. Charlie's not having it. It's just like, bro, it's like, you're here. We know what you're here for, Joe. You're here to create a viral moment, and that's exactly what you are. You're a virus. You're a cancer. It's like nobody wants you here in NXT. And Joe's like, well, that's a little bit harsh, but hey, you know what? Ren steps in, is like, hey, I apologize for my friend here. Big fan, by the way. She has a whole shirt and everything too, which was crazy. But she's like, he's kind of depressed, Joe. And Ren's like, the only thing that will cheer Charles up here is if you wrestle. And so Joe tosses out the idea that next week, he and Charlie, Mr. Dempsey here, will have a match on NXT. And Ren's like, that's a great idea. I'm going to go find Ava later to make this match official. Charlie is having none of it, so he leaves. And so then, again, Ren Sinclair, like the ultimate fangirl, is like, hey, can I get a picture with you? And Joe's like, sure. And then she pulls out her camera and they get a selfie together. I was just like, Ren, never change. I love you. So, again, Joe Hendry is back on NXT television quicker than I imagined. Of course, we got some weird stuff going on because we didn't cover it last week, but it seems that Joe's next feud right now is going to be with Mustafa Ali in TNA, so that's going to be interesting to say the least. But Joe and Charlie Dempsey is set for next week, so I was entertained by this segment. As dumb as it was, I was entertained. This was fun. I was like, more of this, please, NXT. Just let's do some more comedy. This was fun.
I agree. It was just fun. I was like, it was there. We can have some fun and actually get some wrestling done.
Exactly. I was like, how long were you waiting in that fridge?
I know, that was funny. When he popped out of there, I was like,
how long were you in there?
Okay.
I was like, the fact that you could fit in that fridge too is impressive, but I digress.
Yeah, seriously.
That was so much fun. It really was. You're like, oof. Anyways, so after this little run-in with the Joe Hendry fan club, we do get into our next match, which was set up from last week. We get Channing Stacks Lorenzo taking on Yoshiki Inamura. I was entertained solely from the fact that Stacks thought he was about that life, and Yoshiki Inamura manhandled him so much. I was just like, damn. I was like, I forgot. I got to remember that Yoshiki comes from that Japanese style of wrestling, so it's going to hurt when you get tossed and smacked around. My God, Inamura's chops to Stacks' chest. Oh, my Lord. I was like, there are 3 chops I would never take in this world. Well, 4. That is a Yoshiki Inamura chop, a Gunther chop, a Penta chop, and one called Mander's chop. Like, I'm just like, where they hit hard enough where the sweat just perforates off the ricochet of it. Ugh. So towards the tail end of this match, Ariana Grace of all people comes out and she smacks Yoshiki Inamura. I was just like, girl, this wasn't even about you. Ariana, love you. But I was like, what are we doing? Which would allow, which would allow Stacks to ultimately pick up the victory. And then, of course, Josh Briggs and Inamura are not done because then Josh attacks Inamura. So I was like, we're continuing that feud. On screen, don't like Stacks and Ariana together. That's just me. But, I learned that they are an actual real life couple. So I was like, listen, we tried this with Lash and Trick and it did not go well because the audience hijacked the whole thing. I was like, this audience is not dumb and they messy, but I love them for it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's my only biggest problem with this match. Had Ariana not come out, because I was like, girl, why? I was like, you know what? I would have been fine with like a distraction because Josh like hits Inamura or something from behind because we're continuing to build that feud. But I'm like, Ariana Grace, I love you, but girl, we didn't need you. I was like, I love you, but you were the odd person out in this whole match. And Stacks wins. So I was like, so did we just get rid of the Heritage Cup after Tony D'Angelo threw in the ocean? Okay, I guess, fine, whatever. I'm like, okay. I was like, no more Heritage Cup, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, I'm sad if it's actually retired because I'm sad if it is because I was just like, anyways. But to be fair, the last couple of champions that we have not been a lot of fun. Like Lexus and Stacks. No. I'm just like,
because they didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I was just like, I know y'all were waiting for Noam Dar, and then he came back, and then he got hurt again, so now he's out again. I was like, nah. So, oh well. We got to move on though. Ethan Page is annoying. Tavion had enough. Well, I was like, you go, Tavion. At least it gives Ethan another new challenger. Chelsea Green, you're flawless. I love you. So pretty much that sums it up. So of course, Ethan Page is out here, talks about the match last week that he was able to send Santino packing back to TNA. He tries to, sing the Canadian anthem again. Tavion Heights comes out. At first, when I grabbed this picture, because it wasn't showing Tavion's face, I'm like, Mike Santana, is that you?
I know. It's so funny.
I was like, the bun and the height and everything. Tavion's like, Ethan, you need to be shut up. Nobody wants to hear that. I'm going to take that championship from you. Chelsea Green's music hits. She is in support and endorses Ethan Page as the Canadian NXT North American Championship. Throws in some Canadian stuff like Ethan Page is so strong that, he fought a moose and the moose apologized. I was like, I see where we're going. Tavion is just like, girl, I need you to move. Chelsea's like, you wouldn't hit a woman. And he's like, you're right, but I hit a bitch, and then hits Ethan in the face. I was just like,
so
damn. Funny. I was like, you go, Tavion. I'm here for this. And so then, the secret Hervis grabbed Chelsea to like take her for safety in the corner. Chelsea's still on the mic yelling and screaming. Tavion's like, I can't hit you, but I'm going to find a girl that can. So we might be setting up some sort of mixed tag team action or whatever. And you know what? If this leads to Ethan and Tavion, fighting for the championship, I'm here for this. Because now that Tavion is a single star and no longer part of No Quarter Catch Crew, give Tavion a push like we're giving Miles a push. Put him on my television screen as much as you can because I love me some Tavion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So next couple weeks, we're 3 weeks out, so who knows? Because technically, as this point in the show, we only have one match made for Heatwave. Jasmine is going to be the downfall to this group, and she's going to be like, I'm done. Y'all are mistreating me. Like, I'm over it because she's earlier in the episode, JC made her go shine the belts because Fallon and JC are still upset that Jasmine lost her match last week against Jada Parker. And so then she comes back with the titles because Kalani and Lola are talking. Kalani's like, I mean, I guess that's a win. That's not exactly how I wanted to, but you know what? A win is like Lola's like, girl, don't worry about it. A win is a win. So like, it's fine. They begin talking. JC and Fallon come into the scene being, their bratty, mean girl self, talking about, that Lola and Kalani, like, and no other woman in this locker room can measure up. Jasmine Nix comes in with the titles. She throws some shade, which was so funny. It's just like, you know what? I got you guys a challenge because since you want to be, since we're the baddest group here in NXT and we need to continue to show our dominance, JC, I got you and your little, sidekick a tag team match. And you know what? I'm gonna let Ava know that I found your guys' opponents. And as Jasmine leaves, JC's like, oh, I don't know. And then Fallon's like, did she just call me a sidekick? I was like, Jasmine, I love you, girl, more than ever now.
It was so funny.
It's crazy, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm here for a Lola Kalani tag team too.
Yeah, seriously, badass bitches.
With Kalani's gymnastics and athleticisms and literally Lola MMA background, she'll knock you out in one punch. Like,
that's great.
So excited. So again, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but this sets up another match for next week. Again, Lash and Nia have been fighting all episode. We get backstage here. Ava's just like, all right, I'm done with all of this. You two want to beat each other up? Fine, you got it. Next week, it's going to be Lash Legend versus Nia Jax, and you can destroy each other in the ring. Ava walks away as security has to continue to keep Lash and Nia apart because they want to fight so bad. I was like, all right, there we go. Ava was busy towards the tail end of this episode because she had a lot of backstage segments like this one. I was like, Ava goes back to the office. We have Trick, Oba, Moose, and Javon in there. They are all arguing with each other. Ava's just like, listen, I got a plan, but I need y'all to stop talking and listening. And before she can get that out, Hank and Tank come in barging in because they're like, we want a piece of Dark State. They jumped us and they're being a nuisance and a pain in the butt, and we want to fight them. And so Ava's like, all right, I need all 6 of you to shut up and listen to me. So here's what we're going to do. Next week, first she talks to Hank and Tank, and this is where I'm going to be a little mad. She tells them, you want a piece of Dark State? Fine. You can put those tag titles on the line, and you can pick 2 members. It will be you two versus 2 members of Dark State for the tag team championships at Heatwave. And then I just sat there. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, they didn't do anything to earn a match. What the flip, y'all? I was just like, are you kidding me? Besides their victory at Stand and Deliver across NXT and TNA, Dark State has lost a lot. And how are we giving them tag team? I was so mad as soon as Ava said that. I was like, they don't deserve one. They didn't earn a shot. What the? And look, I know I had to suspend my disbelief for wrestling for a little bit, but I was like, come on, y'all. Their record is trash, and you giving them a tag team championship match? What is this world? That's where I got mad, Will.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. I got mad, too. I was like, what the fuck? That's when I was just like, that's when I tend to just like, Dark State is stupid. It's just stupid. It just needs to go away. It's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. We don't know why they're there other than just to be there. And now you're going to give them a chance to win the tag team titles?
At a pay-per-view, nonetheless.
I'm like, no. I know. I was so mad. I was screaming at the TV.
Well, that's not all because that was Dark State Part 1. And then we get to Ava's second part of this announcement, which is Dark State Part 2, Electra Boogaloo, because she tells, there's two things that she tells our group of, our lovely, lovely black men over here. She tells them that next week it's going to be Trick, Oba, Moose, and Javon versus Dark State. And then in 2 weeks, when NXT is in Philadelphia, it will be Trick Williams versus Javon Evans, and winner will face Oba Femi for the NXT Championship at Heatwave. So I was just like, all right, we're getting some stuff for Heatwave. We're getting some stuff for the Go Home show. But I'm like, really? An 8-person tag against Dark State with these 4? I'm like, all right, I guess. So I was just like, why is Darkseid getting all these matches on television? I was just like, they didn't do anything. They keep losing. I was like, are y'all like, is everything good, NXT? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm not saying that. I was like, was there no other stories that you can tell? But I was like, whatever, man. It is what it is. But yeah, I was like, how is Darkseid getting all these opportunities when they've been consistently on a losing streak? I'm like, I don't understand. I was like, whatever. I'm gonna be so for real. I would rather see some of our WWE Evolve talent. Like, even though they weren't officially part of NXT, like when we had Sean Legacy here for like 3 weeks, I was like, I'd rather have the Evolve talent come over than Darkseid. I'm gonna be so for real. But what do I know? I was like, Ava, I love you, girl, but like Darkseid don't need matches. I kid you not. Well, I had a pause and I had to take like a 2-minute breather because I was so mad.
Oh, I was very vocal. Very vocal.
You definitely let me know in our chat.
I wanted to write like a strongly worded email. I was so mad.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was like, hey, we don't make the booking decision, so that is what we're gonna have to deal with for the next 2 weeks and at Heatwave. We got this sit down interview, and I'm not gonna lie, at first I was like, ooh, we might be setting something new with Ricky. I'm here with this. I love this, like this sit down. I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. Like, let's maybe a turn or evolution of his character. No, this sit down interview was just used to tell us that in 2 weeks in Philadelphia, we're getting a rematch between Ricky Saints and Jasper Troy. And I'm just like, I get it because, Jasper won via count out and Ricky doesn't like that. But I was just like, no, I don't want to see this match. I was like, give Ricky something else to do.
I agree. I wasn't all that into this.
At first, I was excited. I was like, ooh, okay, new feud. Let's see. Oh, no, never mind. Ricky versus Jasper at Philadelphia. I'm like, no. I was like, we wasted a good segment. I'm not even going front. I was like, I love this. We got a whole backdrop. We got some props in the background. I was like, ooh, we spent money on this promo. But then I was like, oh, okay, I see what this is. All right. So we'll see. Here's the thing. I'm not mad at Ricky or Jasper, like the characters or the wrestlers. I'm mad at booking and whoever's writing these stories. I was just like, what are we doing? Like, I know that NXT is the land where we throw everything and spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. But at the same time, I was just like, y'all got to stop playing ping pong and pinball with all these stories and feuds that you got going on with people. I was just like, I'm not asking you to have the same feud for like 3 months, but you can't be bouncing people from feud to feud in a matter of like 2 weeks, because then I was like, you're missing some storytelling here, my folks. So, I don't know. That's just me, Will. Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what NXT is doing. Honestly, I don't think NXT knows what NXT is doing right now. Because, I mean, it's like, it feels like a lot of the stuff that they're kind of putting together feels thrown together. Like this whole thing, it's like, I don't care about this. I don't care about Jasper Troy throwing you on to whatever he threw you on. I don't care. That's not a reason to start a feud. You should have just got up, whooped his butt, and moved on. But now we're like, I mean, is that going to be the basis of their whatever this is, or is it just going to be a one time and we're done? Which we all know that's probably not the case. But
nope.
And again, I don't think they know what to do with Jasper Troy, because they've already got an Obafemi. So we don't need another one. At least until Oba leaves. Once Oba goes to main roster or whatever, then okay, that's cool. But he's trying to tear through the locker room like Obafemi did. And I'm like, we've seen this before. We've already been here at NXT. You need something new. And
honestly,
this,
I'm just like, I don't know what we're doing anymore, you guys. I'm just like, I don't know anymore. I'm just like, so it's Ricky and Jasper part 2 in Philadelphia in 2 weeks is essentially what this is. So it's like, fine, whatever. Alrighty, yeah, if we must. So next week on NXT, we have some matches officially made. We are getting Nia Jax versus Lash Legend. In a tag team match, it is JC Jane and Fallon Henley versus, Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan. We are also getting an 8-man tag of Obafemi, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and TNA's Moose versus Dark State. And we're also and as we saw earlier in the show, we are getting Charlie Dempsey versus Joe Hendry as well. So, and this is the final show, or at least in the performance and like the NXT, home base in Florida. And then the following week, they will be in Philadelphia, where we also get told that we're getting Ricky versus Jasper Troy and Javon versus Trick in a #1 contenders match. Winner moves on to face Oba at Heat Wave. And that Philadelphia show is the go home show before Heat Wave too. So gonna be interesting for that one. My match of the whole entire episode. My God, this match ruled so much. My favorite match, best match of NXT this week for the program, and so happy this main evented. And our main event for this week's NXT is for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Sol Ruca defending her title against Tatum Paxley. This match ruled. I echo what has been said previously on this review, but Sol Ruca, I was like, girl is ready for the main roster. Like, she is so polished and so good and so athletic, and like the crowd is so behind her. But my move of the entire episode, oh my goodness, was when Sol and Tatum climbed to the top, and then Tatum did like a twisting neck breaker of some sort, and I thought she decapitated Sol Ruca. I was just like, oh my goodness, that net breaker that Tatum gave Sol Ruca off the top rope was nuts, and I thought, oh my God, she died. They're both dead. Some interesting development, because Sean Spears tries to give Tatum the doll, but Izzy stops it for a little bit. And then Sean's like, what are we doing? But then Lash and Nia come out and begin fighting. Tatum is getting great grabs and holds the doll. And in the distraction, that would allow Sol to hit her finisher, the Soul Snatcher, onto Tatum Paxley and pin her for the 1-2-3, your winner. And still NXT Women's North American Champion, Sol Ruca. I was like, ooh, is Izzy getting jealous? I like seeing some character development between these two girls. But yeah, this was easily my match of the night. I was like, holy crap, this could have been on a pay-per-view, and we got it on free television. It was so good. Yeah, Sol is just, both of them are so damn good. Tatum is my MVP. I was just like, it's so fun seeing how far she's come since, being introduced to her when we started covering this channel. So, Will, what did you think of our main event?
Oh, it was mine as well. My match of the night. I mean, it was like going through all the stuff we went through previously, totally paid off at the end. And I thought this match was fantastic. I loved all the chaos happening. I loved all the shenanigans happening. Although I got a little scared there when Sol Ruca went up onto that rope and lost her balance and basically fell, caught herself, and then went back up. But I was like, oh my God. It's like that was so crazy. But other than that, I thought this match was fantastic. Loved it. Was a great way to end the night. You're muted.
Yeah, Tatum MVP for me. Sol Ruca is awesome. Absolutely. This was great. I mean, we end the show with Sol and Zarya in the ring celebrating. Izzy carrying Tatum to the back, Lash and Nia laying on the floor because Lash speared Nia through the barricade, which was a lot of fun to watch too. I'm just like, oh man, I'm so pumped. This is gonna be a lot of fun. But that brings us to the end of our NXT review. We are 2 weeks. No, wait. Yeah, technically we're 2 weeks out from the go home, and we're just a little bit about 2.5, 3 weeks away from Heat Wave 2. So Heat Wave is almost upon us. And so we're going to be spending the next 2 NXT show finalizing our card for Heat Wave. And we're going to be bringing you all the NXT goodness as well. So before we sign off for NXT this week, to give you a quick update and information about what this rest of the week looks like, in a matter of like 2 hours, the CMLL crew will be here to review an episode of Viernes Espectacular and talk about everything that happened. And this was a crazy episode. We have a new champion at the end of our main event. We had some great Amazona actions and a challenge for Aniversario, perhaps. We saw somebody break their leg live during this episode, which was wild, and we're going to talk about it. And the fact that it became a 2-on-3 and it was still banging was crazy. So you're going to want to tune in at 8 p.m. Pacific for that one tonight. Tomorrow evening, we take a trip across to the land of the rising sun as the GCW crew of Andrew, myself, and Adolfo will be reviewing GCW in Japan. And that was also crazy. We had hardcore death matches. We had intergender tag team matches. We also had, Yoshihiko, the inflatable blow-up doll wrestle, which was crazy to watch as well. So it's craziness, and I'm so excited to talk about it tomorrow. And that is at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Friday, also at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, we are back with TNA as we talk about, we are literally 2 weeks away from Emergence. Like, that is crazy of how quickly that we are so close to the next TNA pay-per-view of Emergence. So we're going to talk about the episode that is airing tomorrow. Saturday night, the MLW squad will be doing a live watch along for MLW's Blood and Thunder. And then we wrap up everything this week with our WWE review for Raw and SmackDown on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific. So me and Will got to get up on out of here. But from all of us here at NXTilosos, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. And from us and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay biconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you next week for another exciting NXT review. But until then, this is sayonara, adios. And this is Mikey, El Jefe of BC WrestlePod, signing us out for the evening. So until next time, peace.